In 2016, a daring digital heist shocked the crypto world. 120,000 Bitcoin, worth over $70 million, vanished from the Bitfinex exchange in a matter of hours. Fast forward 5 years, and that stash ballooned to billions, leading authorities to a flamboyant New York couple, Ilya Lichtenstein, a tech-savvy magician, and Heather Razzle-Khan Morgan, a rapper with a larger-than-life persona. Dubbed the Bitcoin Bonnie and Clyde, their wild scheme to launder a fortune unfolded like a modern crime saga, complete with fake identities, gold coins, and a trail of blockchain breadcrumbs. In this video, we'll break down the biggest financial heist in history, the eccentric duo behind it, and how the feds finally caught up. Let's dive into the chaos. But before we jump in, the details in this video are disturbing and may not be suitable for all audiences, so viewer discretion is strongly advised. As always, remember to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to stay up to date with the channel. Alright, let's dive into the video. In 2016, when Bitfinex was one of the leading exchanges for buying and selling cryptocurrencies and other digital assets, and on the fine morning of the 2nd of August 2016, the hackers removed more than half of Bitfinex's inventory.
I logged into my account and noticed that my entire account had been drained. I was crying and sweating.
Around 120,000 coins in less than 4 hours. A single Bitcoin was valued at roughly $600 at the time of the theft. Cryptomania arose almost immediately after, and Bitcoin's value spiked. The money just kept rising. A single Bitcoin had skyrocketed to $69,000 at its dizzying peak, making this 2016 theft the largest heist in American history and driving the total value of the stolen coins to an insane $8.3 billion. After the great sell-off of 2022, the value dropped to a pitiful $2.5 billion in typical crypto madness. It was like they were trying to hide a $20 bill that had been stolen, but in some way, it had turned into a cash mountain, with stacks of $100 bills spilling out the windows. How the heck could they possibly hide something like that? These days, lone hackers aren't the only ones stealing cryptocurrency. The money is stolen by organized crime groups, who are occasionally supported by countries such as Iran and North Korea. They utilize the funds to finance terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda and ISIS, or to purchase illicit weaponry. A new industry has developed to combat this. Governments, corporations, and cryptocurrency exchanges use Silicon Valley companies like TRM Labs and Chainalysis, who were both connected in the Bitfinex case. They use cutting-edge AI to track the money trail and monitor each and every cryptocurrency transaction. As a result, the initial assumption that cryptocurrency would be totally anonymous has failed, and we now have a system that tracks transactions. It's nearly impossible to charge someone with an online hack. Unlike a bank robbery where you might catch someone red-handed or find fingerprints, online criminals leave very little evidence linking them directly to the crime. Usually the only way to catch them is if they're found with the stolen money. So, you can imagine how surprised investigators were to discover that the online trail from the Bitfinex hack, the same trail used to try and secretly launder the stolen money, led to a couple living right here in downtown Manhattan. Imagine their surprise when, instead of finding some anonymous North Korean hacking group, they looked at the couple's social media. This couple, who had the keys to $5 billion worth of stolen cryptocurrency, had tons of social media accounts, way more than you'd expect. It was about 3 in the morning when they first showed up. A plain, unmarked government car stopped in front of the tall brown brick and blue glass building at 75 Wall Street in downtown Manhattan. Even though it's called the city that never sleeps, everything was quiet. The usual sounds of car horns and subways were gone. The agents got out of the car and went through the revolving doors of the 42-story building. They walked across the shiny white oak floor of the lobby to the doorman. It was 2021, during the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. The bottom 18 floors of the building, which used to be a hotel called the Andaz, were closed because of the virus. It was unusual for the doorman to see anyone at that hour, but seeing a group of federal agents was really strange.
We think someone in this building is sharing illegal CP. We need to go to the roof to find where the signal is coming from.
One of the police officers told the doorman. The surprised doorman agreed and showed them where the elevators were. The officers got into an elevator. The doorman wondered which person in the building, which had 346 apartments costing up to $7 million each, could be doing such a thing. Later, the officers returned to the lobby and left the building. A few weeks passed and federal agents came back. They returned again a few weeks after that. At one point, the night doorman even tried to help them with their investigation. He asked if they were sure they had the right building because it seemed like what they were looking for was more likely to be found at 95 Wall Street. It turned out that number 95 was much more trouble than number 75. During that same summer of 2021, the fancy glass building across the street, 95 Wall Street, had been raided by the police for drugs several times. Online reviews of the building said it was full of cocaine dealers, gangsters, and wild parties. Recently, a high-class escort had even been murdered there. Her body was put in a big drum and taken out the back before being dumped in New Jersey. The agents were sure the signal they were tracking was coming from this building. They kept going up to the roof. Then, one night, they focused on a specific floor. The signal was getting stronger. The agents weren't looking for CP. The crime they were investigating started in Hong Kong in 2016. Someone had stolen a lot of Bitcoin, worth millions then, and billions now, from a crypto exchange. After 5 years of searching, the agents had finally found the people who had the stolen Bitcoin. It was a married couple in their early 30s. The husband, Ilya, was from Russia and worked as an investor and part-time magician. His wife, Heather, was American and worked as an entrepreneur, journalist, and rapper. They even had a Bengal cat with its own Instagram account. The investigation, which included over 50 interviews with the couple's friends, former colleagues, investigators, and residents of 75 Wall Street, revealed that this was just the beginning of a truly bizarre story. This case was one of the strangest in the world of crypto crime, and the couple's social media accounts offered the first hints of just how strange it would become. For a year after the Bitcoin theft, nothing happened. The stolen money just sat there, increasing in value. Then, in 2017, some security companies noticed someone was trying to hide the stolen crypto by using a darknet marketplace called Alphabay. This site was known for selling illegal drugs. Investigators watched as a store was set up on Alphabay, processed many sales, and then quickly disappeared, with the money going into secret online wallets. The thieves were using clever techniques to make the money harder to trace. A few months later, the authorities shut down Alphabay and arrested its founder. This gave investigators clues that eventually led them back to the Bitcoin theft and 75 Wall Street. This whole thing was puzzling. The couple didn't act like they had billions of dollars. They shared a lot of their lives online and didn't live in extreme luxury. But, as we all know, the internet isn't always real life. Behind the scenes, the couple was spending money, but secretly. The husband, Ilya, bought gold coins and gift cards that could be turned into air miles. He also created fake investment companies with fake employees, using names that seemed randomly generated. They also traveled the world, staying in fancy hotels in places like Malaysia, Hong Kong, Egypt, Vietnam, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. Before the pandemic, they even spent a month in Ukraine, planning to live there. According to the authorities, while in Ukraine, they received packages from the dark web containing fake passports, SIM cards, and information for secret bank accounts. It seemed like they were creating new identities and a new life, a plan that the feds described as something out of a spy novel. Ilya Lichtenstein, a short, intense guy with a soft Russian accent, presented himself online as a business-minded individual. His Twitter feed was full of thoughts on NFTs and crypto, and he sometimes retweeted Edward Snowden. He shared pictures of hikes and his cat Clarissa on Instagram and Facebook. His wife, Heather Morgan, shorter than Ilya, with straight hair and a love for fanny packs, was even more active online. She had tons of accounts across different platforms, including multiple ones for herself, her rapper persona Razzle Khan, Clarissa the cat, who even had a stroller, and even one for Ilya's apparent alter ego, the cat monkey wizard. Investigators who explored these accounts found a truly bizarre couple. Heather had a whole bunch of online personalities. Sometimes she was like a Turkish Martha Stewart, cooking and DIYing. Other times, she called herself the Crocodile of Wall Street. She also had an alter ego named Charlene, who, with a southern accent and a blonde wig, talked about laxatives. But her most prominent alter ego was Razzle Khan, a rapper who took silly selfies and did a suggestive dance move. She rapped everywhere: the subway, the library steps, in front of the Wall Street Bull, and all over her apartment building. Ilya seemed to plan everything carefully. His marriage proposal to Heather took a whole year to organize. He initially thought about faking his own death as a prank, but instead, he plastered New York City with Razzle Khan posters, leading to a Times Square billboard featuring her with the words, "The most brutally honest rap album of the year." Heather Morgan's life hadn't been easy. She grew up in a small town and was teased in school for her voice and lisp. In high school, kids would kick her rolling suitcase in the hallways. A friend described her as often eating lunch alone. She eventually found friends in the science and math crowd, but they weren't the type you'd hang out with socially. When she moved to San Francisco after college, Heather desperately wanted to fit in. She tried networking at a popular bar but seemed uncomfortable and started drinking more. She fell in love with a Brazilian app maker, Bruno de Souza, and impulsively married him before the relationship quickly fell apart. She had to leave Brazil while he was away. She drifted, searching for her identity. Someone who knew her from college tracked her changing identity through her email signatures. She went from economist to economist and entrepreneur, and finally, economist, entrepreneur, and hustler. She tried various careers, from email marketing to writing for Forbes and Inc., even calling herself a fashion designer and artist. But nothing seemed to stick. In late 2021, while under investigation, the couple flew to California to get married. Their wedding was anything but traditional. Guests waved gold spray-painted banana leaves as Heather, in gold herself, was carried in on a Moroccan palanquin. Guests received Razzle Khan stickers. Their first dance was to an eccentric song, and during the reception, Heather transformed into Razzle Khan and rapped a song about Ilya. Meanwhile, Ilya watched proudly as some of the older guests looked confused. After that, Ilya, dressed in black, performed a mentalist magic trick, successfully guessing memories of Heather that guests were thinking about. "He was actually really good," one guest remembered. "He got quite a few of them right." During their vows, they both cried, talking about meeting in San Francisco, falling in love over shared eccentricities and waffle parties, and moving to New York City to start a family. They clearly loved each other, having found companionship in their shared weirdness. He called her his best friend and the woman of my dreams. After the ceremony, Heather secretly told some close friends about an after-party. A bus took them to a mansion in Westlake Village, where they enjoyed a lavish reception with a DJ, bartenders, and waiters. Their guests were sitting in this massive mansion being served this incredible food, and kept wondering how they were able to afford all of this. Guests were told not to post anything on social media. After their wedding, Ilya Lichtenstein seemed confident about their plan to launder the stolen Bitcoin and eventually flee to Ukraine, where they thought they'd be safe from US law. But Heather Morgan was starting to feel the pressure. Old friends noticed she'd changed. She seemed more confident around Lichtenstein, but also more fragile. Some wondered if her Razzle Khan persona was a way to cope with some underlying stress. Then she met Ilya. The couple called themselves crypto investors. They pretended to be interested in investing in new crypto companies. This gave them a reason to meet with these companies and learn about their tools. One CEO of a crypto startup agreed to meet with them, but he immediately felt something was wrong. He explained that they often get investment inquiries, but something about this couple's questions seemed off. He looked into their backgrounds and thought things looked strange. He wondered who they really were, saying they gave off a Bonnie and Clyde vibe. Before we continue on, if you are enjoying the video so far, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you don't like it, let me know down in the comments. Your support truly means everything. All right, back to the video. Now let's start the story from right where we left off. It was a gray, cold morning in New York City on January 5th, 2022. Federal agents were back at 75 Wall Street, but this time it was different. They didn't come in the middle of the night like before. This time they arrived around 7 a.m. with a search warrant in hand. Agents from the FBI, IRS, and Homeland Security walked into the building, took the freight elevator up, and knocked on a door. They were going into Dutch and Razzle-Khan's apartment. Investigators know how crucial it is to surprise people during a raid. They don't want them to have time to hide anything on their computers or phones, which might hold clues. When the agents entered the apartment, it was chaotic. The cat, Clarissa, ran and hid under the bed. The couple was given a choice: stay and watch the search, or leave. They chose to leave, but first they wanted to get Clarissa. As Heather, Razzle-Khan, reached under the bed for the cat, she also grabbed her phone and tried to lock it. An agent saw her and had to wrestle the phone away from her. The agents had a busy day searching the apartment. They found $40,000 in cash held together with pink rubber bands, bags of different foreign currencies, and a bag labeled burner phone. They also collected about 50 tablets, phones, and other electronic devices. Interestingly, they discovered 2 hollowed-out books, one a novel called The Water Goats, and the other about Japanese maps. It looked like someone had been using them to hide money or electronics. All the evidence they gathered from the apartment helped the agents connect the online wallet used in the Bitfinex hack to Ilya and Heather. A month later, the couple was arrested. They were charged with conspiracy to commit money laundering and conspiracy to defraud the United States. If they're found guilty, they could face up to 25 years in prison. The government announced the arrest and called it the largest financial seizure in U.S. history. They had seized 94,000 Bitcoin, worth about $3.6 billion. However, 25,000 of the original stolen coins were still missing. The agents believed that these missing coins had been moved out of Ilya's wallet through a complicated money laundering process. They suspected that some of the stolen funds had ended up in financial accounts controlled by Ilya and Heather. The news of their arrest spread like wildfire, especially online. People on Twitter had a field day, criticizing the couple relentlessly. Heather's rap videos were a particular target, with some commenters saying they were worse than the actual crime. People made fun of her rapping and said she should be locked up for it. The online reaction was brutal. The media also jumped on the story, highlighting the various nicknames the couple had used over the years. One headline called Heather the Crocodile of Wall Street and mentioned her rapping. Soon they were being called Bitcoin Bonnie and Clyde, a nickname that stuck. The evidence against them seemed so strong that everyone assumed they would take a plea deal rather than go to trial. I wondered why the couple didn't just disappear like Edward Snowden. Why not fly to Russia or Ukraine, enjoy the food and drinks, and spend their stolen money? Speculations are that they were planning to do just that. Go to Russia or Ukraine, or maybe both, and hide. That's why they had passports, cash, and even books with hidden compartments for electronics. It seemed like they were about to leave, but the authorities caught them just in time. The investigator even said they could have raided the apartment and found it empty. What's really strange is what happened in the month between the raid and their arrest. While the husband, Ilya, was quiet online, his wife, Heather, acted like everything was normal. She kept posting on social media, even sharing an old rap song about her period. She sang about endometriosis and how it made her feel. She called it her theme song. The cat, Clarissa, also kept posting pictures. Heather continued to tweet about crypto and investing. It was unbelievable. This woman, just days away from being arrested for laundering billions of dollars in Bitcoin, acted like nothing was wrong. She was facing a long prison sentence, possibly not getting out until she was 56. It was like she was living in a completely different reality. Was Heather Morgan just not worried about what was going to happen to her? Or, like her friends thought, Was her rapper persona, RazzleCon, a way to cope with stress she couldn't handle? It's hard to say. Around the same time the feds were closing in, something interesting happened. Heather was on Facebook and saw a post from a friend who'd been through some tough times. The friend had posted a picture of a kintsugi pot. She knew about these from her time in a Japanese club. They're broken pottery pieces glued back together with gold. It's supposed to show how you can embrace your flaws. Under the picture, Heather wrote that things were not going well and that life was not good. She even said she felt broken, like the pot. Her friend replied saying lots of people feel broken, but hopefully they get put back together. Heather then just sent back a half smiley face emoji. It makes you wonder what she was really thinking. A few days later, the news came out. Heather Morgan and Ilya Lichtenstein had been arrested. They were accused of having $3.6 billion worth of stolen Bitcoin. Everyone who knew Heather was completely stunned. She'd had so many different personas over the years, but no one ever imagined she could be involved in something like this. People were just in shock. That was the only word they could use. Because Ilya was from Russia, the court thought he might try to flee, so he's been in jail in Virginia. Heather, who now has her own lawyer, not the one she shared with her husband, was allowed to go back to their apartment. Both of them are trying to make a deal with the government right now, and at the time of this recording, neither of them has posted anything on social media since their arrest. The almost unbelievable story of the Bitcoin Bonnie and Clyde, two ordinary people caught in the middle of the biggest crypto heist in American history. From billion-dollar Bitcoin laundering to bizarre rap videos and a secret escape plan, this case had it all. So what do you think? Were they criminal masterminds or just two eccentric opportunists who got in way over their heads? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, then check out these videos on the screen now. If you have a topic suggestion, please send it to the email in the description. And as always, remember to like, comment, share the video, and subscribe to our channel. I will see you in the next one.